forget the past, so you gotta learn from it. Heavy on the passion, let it burn, running all the way. You can outrun me. Ain't no way you can win this race. Ooh, when they turn the bait to the wire, face down, paint 'em all in black. Ooh, just remember that when everything's falling, we built this to last. You can see it in my eyes, only want the best. And everybody every night won't settle for less. Got me looking to the sky, got me feeling blessed. Got this fire burning up inside of my chest, burning up inside of my chest, burning up inside of my chest, burning up inside of. Got this fire burning up inside of my chest.
Yeah, I lit my own flame, and I put that on my own name. Couldn't get this way with no pain. I feel the fire in us. Whoa, they looking for the goals. You can feel the pressure, bring it everywhere we go. And I deal with the highs, the same way I treat the lows. Oh no, don't close your eyes, I'm taking everything you own.
You can see it in my eyes, only want the best. And everybody every night won't settle for less. Got me looking to the sky, got me feeling blessed. Got this fire burning up inside of my chest, burning up inside of my chest, burning up inside of my chest, burning up inside of. Got this fire
welcome to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. This is Countdown to Green, and we are almost midway through the series. You can see the monster right there. We are at Dover. I'm your host, Camille Salazar-Hadaway. Joining me, as always, is our analyst, Alan Cabana and Brandon Cattell. Hello, and welcome to Dover. Are you both ready?
Oh, it's awesome. One of the most unique tracks on the circuit with the best trophy, Miles the Monster, the most coveted trophy in all of racing, I swear.
Dude, I would love to have one of those things. Just have your car sitting up there. It's so cool. So cool.
It is so cool, but I think what would be cooler if Miles just goes to the dentist. Need some teeth work there.
No hate, no haters.
No hate. But we have to talk about everything that went down last time because it got a little dirty at Bristol. Let's take a look.
And it is Graham Boland's field to control as he comes off of 4, and we say, let's go dirt racing at Bristol. Oh, and a spinner. It is Salas who gets turned into the wall, and there is caution flag number 1. Lap number 9 behind us, and take a green flag with 111 still to go on the scoring pylon.
Logan clamped it into the wall, and boy, that is going to create a huge mess off of turn 2. The big one here at Bristol. And interesting to see that the track has already slicked off so much, despite the fact that we've run so many of these opening laps underneath the yellow flag. We've still seen that bottom start to lose and kind of fade a little bit, and you can see most of the field starting to venture up towards that top side.
Gets set for yet again another restart, this time with 81 laps to go from Bristol. Boland on the inside, going to get the jump, but right there, lockstep with him. And now with the lead into turn number 1 is Garrett Maines.
Oh, and Graham Boland turns Garrett Maines around in front of the pack. Garrett Maines goes for a spill. And you're only going to see it here as we have a change for the race lead. Out front, Nick Gottinger on lap 72 gave Grant Boland a little taste of his own medicine, and a little bit of contact was used to get it done off of turn number 4. And now Nick Gottinger at the point here at Bristol.
2 more corners to navigate for the driver of the 25 Logitech G Chevrolet, and Nick Gottinger wins the inaugural eNASCAR dirt race at Bristol.
Having some fun at the end of that race, but it was a slippery one, right, Brandon? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, well, thanks, Camille. Well, a clean nose is a winning nose, and we saw that last week with Nick Ottinger taking home the victory. He had barely any damage on his car there. You have to have a clean and patient race. I'm telling you, listen to your crew chiefs. Your crew chiefs will tell you all season long, you got to be patient. You do not want to be involved in the wreck, and that will make you be there at the end. You want to be consistent. You just make it through the race, you'll be there. I promise you. I know I probably still need to have that kind of medicine myself at the end of the season when I was racing, but man, these guys, they need to listen to the crew chiefs. They have to get the job done. They have to be clean to make it to the end.
You gotta listen. Alan.
Yeah, I'm nice and clean after the Bristol dirt race. Don't worry about me. But what I'm worried about, one driver in particular I'm worried about after Bristol, is our champ, Keegan Leahy. It has not been his year so far this season. Bristol was not kind to him. His second finish of 29th or worse. Look, I get it. It's Bristol dirt. It's a unique situation. Maybe we can throw that result out. But our boy Keegan has yet to get off to a good start so far this season. And I know it only takes one race. It takes one race to turn your whole season around, but you got to be running up front to capitalize and get those checkered flags. Hasn't happened so far yet, and he's not the only former champ. Ray Alfala, Zach Novak, and all former champs. sort of struggling so far in 2022.
Yeah.
I'm just worried about where they go from here, especially after Bristol Dirt.
Yeah, it's definitely worrying to see where they go from here. But Brandon, where are they at right now?
Point standings, let's take a look at them here. Big note here, Michael Guest went from 6th to 16th. It can change just like that in an instant. Obviously, we see Nick Ottinger moving up to 2nd place with his win last week. Anything that you see any different, Alan?
No, I mean, look, the wins matter, right? So you see Michael Conti up there, and those that I was just talking about, how Keegan Leahy, you can see where he is way down in 18th. You get one win, and then you're all the way up there and in a playoff position. So that's what's unique, about the scoring system. What's so important about how these things work.
Yeah, well, we see that Femi's also holding on his team there. Take us through the standings, Alan.
Yeah, look who is on top. From the ashes, they would say, Charlotte Phoenix has risen to the top of the standings, 254 points. That new team doing big things after Graham Bolin scored back-to-back podiums. Jim Beaver Esports still going strong despite a rough going out in Bristol. And go down a little bit, Junior Motorsports, Clint Boyer Racing. You can tell they have potential. They are 8th and 9th still in the points, but they need their whole teams to step up, right? You can't have it be one-sided. But if you can get a little balance there, both Junior Motorsports, Clint Boyer, they could shoot up the standings, but you got to give it up to those new teams up there, or those smaller teams. Charlotte Phoenix, Jim Beaver Esports holding their own at this point in the season. That's pretty good.
Speaking of newer teams, XSET is, definitely having our eyes on them this series. And Alan is able to catch up with Ryan Luza from the team to just learn a little bit more about how they go through the race process.
Yeah, it's always good to have people joining the show, especially the drivers that are about to compete for that Miles the Monster Trophy. First up is Ryan Luza. Let's talk with him because XSET it's the first time that you've stayed with a team for the 2nd year. What brought you back to Team XSET?
XSET's just a really cool org. I play a lot of other games. I'm just a big gamer, obviously iRacing for one, and then I play a lot of FPS games and a lot of the stuff that they have other teams for. So it's really cool being a part of the org and like supporting their Valorant team, Rainbow Six, all the stuff like that. So I think that's super cool. Even they do some like in-houses for Valorant, so it's cool to hop on with some of those guys and play. So I don't know, I love XSET. It's a really big org, and everyone is really cool, inclusive, and they do a lot of events. Haven't got to go to any of them yet, but I think now with COVID starting to wind down and stuff being lifted a little bit, that there's some opportunities to go to some of their like actual just big org-wide events.
Yeah, I love how XSET has its hands in so many different things. But let's talk about, obviously, on the racing side, Ryan. The season has not gone how you've wanted it, at least the beginning of it. What have been some of the struggles you've encountered so far early on in the season?
Just the new car. Really difficult. Seems like we've just been a little bit behind. This year we were really good at Vegas. Had a chance to win that. And Atlanta as well. Vegas, we ended up running pretty good. Atlanta, I thought we had a real good chance to win, but got caught up in something that was completely out of our control. Really sucks when that happens. We've had a really bad start to the year, but the good thing about this playoff system is if we can win a race, we're in. So that's basically the goal now. But to win a race, you have to be one of the fastest cars. We've just been a little bit behind. It's hard to find. The Conti guys have been super, super, super fast. And it's just, I don't know, it sucks when you miss it, but we just got to keep testing and working on trying to find it, because the only way we get in is a win right now. So that's all you can do. And there's so many people in the same boat. And that's what makes these races get kind of crazy as the years winding down, because everyone has to win.
That's the best part, right? One win can change it all. Let's go off the e-racing track to the real track. You do some racing in real life, and we know some of your other competitors do. Caden and Parker, they do in real life racing as well. What is some other racing you've been getting into?
So it's really on and off. Just struggle to find funding, as most real life racing is. That's what makes iRacing so great, is you don't need the funding. That's why I do it so much. But last year got to race the Pro Late model a lot. This year haven't done much yet. I actually have a race coming up at Five Flags. I believe it's next weekend. So after the race tonight, we're packing up and leaving Wednesday to go to Five Flags to race in modified. So hopefully that goes well. Haven't raced in a while, so always good to get back in a real car and just get back in the seat.
That will be awesome. But as you said, there's some business to take care of tonight in Dover. What are the struggles? What are you planning for tonight at Dover?
I think it's pretty much like any other week. Track position is huge. You need to qualify well. And if you don't qualify well, you have to find a way to get track position. You can't really replace qualifying in the top 5 and running there, even if you have one of the best cars. If you qualified 20th, for example, it's just super hard to make up spots and get ground just under green. You have to find a way to get that track position and get up front. So that's the big focus, is getting track position, keeping it, and then hopefully putting yourself in a position at the end of the race to try to win.
Appreciate the time, Ryan Luza. Camille, he's got a plan for tonight. He also has one of the cooler backgrounds, very menacing. The red light. I like it.
Yes, he's coming for the other racers. I love that background. But like I mentioned at the top of the show, we are almost midway through the series. So this is our time to nerd out and look at some trends and stats so far. Let's catch up with Brandon.
Well, guys, let's take a look at some of the trends for the 2022 season. And early on, as we look here, we have 2 columns here at first. Champions who have won in their first 30% of the season, and champions who have multiple wins in the season. If you look here down the list, you see multiple champions of just about every year. They have accomplished both sides of the spectrum here. But look at the asterisk here. Tyler Hudson. He was the only person to have 1 win during the season, not multiple, and his win came late in the season, around race 15 of 18 that year. He won. So that is a big deal. You don't have to just be consistent. You don't have to have that multiple wins throughout the season. You can possibly do it. Champions who have 4 poles or more in a season. 50% of those champions listed have had 4 poles or more in the season. That is important because we'll see later on, 2 drivers have multiple wins at Dover. Those 2 drivers are 2 winners so far this season, Michael Conti and Nick Ottinger. And it is important because we see Nick Ottinger has 3 poles and 1 win. He is just shy of that 4 poles. Last time a driver won Dover and also has a Dover and also was Dover race number 6 was Nick Ottinger. So we're seeing a trend here. The trend is, if you're Nick Ottinger, you're probably going to be the champion this year. I'm just kidding. But Nick Ottinger is looking pretty right now with 3 poles on the season. If he gets a 4th tonight, possibly, he will fit in that requirement to be an early, I'd say, shot at the championship. Back to you, Camille.
I hope Brandon didn't just jinx it for Nick. Let's hope not. But in the meantime, while we talk maybe a little bit our picks a little later in the show, let's actually take a look at the other XSET driver, Casey Kerwin. Alan?
Yeah, Casey wants to join that list, right, and be on this early winners list. It'll hopefully propel him to a championship. Not quite there yet, but let's talk about it because Casey's joining us now. Again, the other half of Team XSET. Casey, what's it been like coming back to XSET for a second year?
Yeah, it's cool to be back with them. It's nice to just kind of have some consistency, but also just XSET themselves are a big esports org in general across all platforms. So it's cool to just kind of that they're branched out into sim racing, and we can kind of try and expose sim racing to a broader audience in like the esports world, which is nice. And they're really into it. And with them not having as much of a racing background, they're kind of constantly learning more about it and getting more interested themselves, and being pretty excited about it. And obviously with Anthony Alfredo being a part of it, he helps a lot. And everyone's excited watching him and watching all of our stuff on Tuesday nights, which has been good. And hopefully we can get a couple spots better in the team standings this year compared to last year. And just try and keep ourselves up there.
I like that laid-back vibe you got going there, Casey. Let's talk 2022 and the differences that we've seen so far this year. What do you think's made the difference? The format, the car. What do you think about the differences this year?
Yeah, it's been different, but not like terribly different. I mean, obviously the cars drive a bit different, but it's still a stock car in a way. I feel like it still races similarly. But I mean, a lot of it helps, like with just running like weekly races on iRacing themselves. You can kind of learn a lot from that, and like how the car changes over runs, and what kind of air situations you're in, what the car is going to do. So I feel like we got a good amount of experience going into the season and like the weeks leading up to these races and that kind of stuff. So it's not too much of a learning curve when we get to the race itself. But I mean, with anything with a new car, you'll constantly overstep a boundary and find new limits and learn new things about it as you go, not just from the driving side but also setup side. I think kind of like last year with the Gen 6 car towards the end, like we've kind of been in the Gen 6 for so long that you kind of knew going in to races where you'd kind of start leading on a setup, where now it's so different. That's kind of where it's changed the most, is on setups. You don't really have as much of a notebook to go off of, so it's kind of relearning how to set up differently and what the car likes changes wise at different racetracks.
All right, let's talk about tonight then, because there will be plenty of times and opportunities to make some, to get some strategy, to have some. Coming off turn 2 might be a little dangerous for some of you, but what are your expectations for tonight at Dover?
Yeah, I don't really have any expectations yet. I don't really know what to expect. Dover's always been one of my better tracks, but obviously new car could change how you drive it a little bit. You never know. So yeah, hopefully we'll be all right. And yeah, like I said kind of earlier, wins are what matter right now. So we'll try and do the right strategy. If we have to be aggressive to get track position, we'll try and do that, and just try and do everything we can to be in position to win at the end, and hopefully execute.
Casey Kerwin, thanks for joining us. Camille, he's got a very California laid-back surfer vibe, but he's down the road from me in Matthews, North Carolina. Didn't see that coming.
Very humble. No expectations, just going with the flow. And you know what? We're going to go with the flow because it is my favorite segment of Countdown to Green, Twitter rigs. You like that? You like that? This is where we get to take a look at your rigs at home. And of course, this is brought to you by Logitech. We have Casey Kerwin.
Wow,
right?
We're starting out with Justin Bieber himself.
Got the gloves there, ready to go.
Love it, driving gloves. Got to have them. Fake it to make it.
We love you, Casey. We love you.
We have Victory Sim. Where is this, a warehouse at a convention?
This is our other friend Casey, who makes these for a lot of people. This is that's pretty neat. You can call him up and order one of those if you want in your house. That's pretty sweet right there.
That is mean.
That is a mean machine, yes. And quite opposite here, Mike Martino. But I'm not knocking it because I like that Mike is staying hydrated.
Yes, a lot of Diet Snapple. Important to be healthy there. That's good. Hey, whatever works. Just get to the finish line.
Is Mike running that off his laptop? That's amazing. Oh, here we go. This one's from Morgan.
That looks like a wing off of a dirt car, maybe Christopher Bell's or something.
Oh, that is cool. Is that some nice die casts up there too?
That is cool.
Yeah, very simple. Focus to the corner of the wall too. Interesting setup. Here we have JD Leok.
Oh, I love it.
Is that a monitor on top of?
That's a huge monitor.
Yeah. That is huge, and again, the hydration with the Mountain Dew.
Yeah, right, you gotta have the cup holder. I mean, that is smart.
Cool thing about that last one, he had his toolbox in his room. That was priorities.
Look at this one. Straight from the Home Depot. They made it out of plumber, out of the piping. That is
plumber's
engineering.
Piping.
Engineering right there.
He could go ask the other guy for his toolbox to help him out.
I love it.
Hey, it works. Remember to send us your rigs. Use the hashtag eNASCAR as well as tagging us at iRacing and at NASCAR. Let's talk about Charlotte Phoenix because they are leading the team standings right now, but they're also having fun while they're doing it because they're having watch parties for the Coca-Cola series, which is really cool. I'm excited about this. Let's take a look. Oh, look at them! All the excitement.
Hey, look, if you look close there, I think we can see that's Ryan Vargas feeling pretty good, I hope, after Talladega, unfortunately.
Brad Perez falling to the ground.
Yeah, Brad Perez falling over.
They have the fog machine.
Okay, circle. There he is. There's Ryan Vargas in the circle. There's a telestrator here. Team Phoenix literally rising from the ashes. I hope that's not a fire.
Yes, and you could also take part in this. May 10th is the next watch party at 6 p.m. Eastern. Go to that link that you see on screen to RSVP because they are going wild.
I love it. I love the fun they're having both on the track and off the track. Imagine if that worked. He just tried to do like the bottle flip challenge. Imagine if that worked right there.
Someone told me I heard Brad Perez was DJing that event, so that's pretty cool.
Oh wow, the fog machine. I don't know if the fog machine will get in the way of actually watching the race, but hey, a good time, good company. But we need to get to Dover. Brandon, track analysis. Walk us through what we could expect today.
Let's take a look at it. The Dover Motor Speedway. Beautiful Dover, Delaware. Let's take a look at it. One of the things I want to take a point at right here, turn banking, 24 degrees, completely different on the straightaways. 9 degrees on the straightaway, that's going to be just a chemistry for a really, really awesome wreck when they come up back on the straightaways here. Let's take a lap around this beautiful racetrack. Right now, as you see, we're with your former champion, Nick Ottinger, former race winner here. We're going to go down 3 stories when we get into the corner. That is a lot of load on these race cars. A lot of opportunities to wreck coming up off and then back onto the 9-degree banking straightaways here. A lot going on here. I like to listen to my good buddy Ray Alfala. He calls this place a big Bristol, and it's kind of just like that. It's concrete. It's calamity. Miles the Monster is out to get you guys, and it's going to be a great race tonight. And Alan, breaking news.
Yeah, well, you keep mentioning the stats for Mr. Ottinger there, former champ, former winner. How about current pole setter for tonight? Top of the board for Mr. Ottinger at Dover. I think he's just going to collect those miles a month. Maybe he's the monster at Dover. That's what we're learning.
And that goes right back into our stats earlier. He's got his 4th pole of the season now. So,
well, Brandon, before we actually started the show, you were talking about that this may be the fastest race.
It could be. It could be. It is a short race tonight, so qualifying very important. So he got it done tonight.
It's all up to those drivers, though, right? I mean, this is the kind of track that could lead to a bunch of cautions because, look, as you were describing, Brandon, I mean, the loads and everything that go into those corners, this could be really clean or a little messy.
It's going to be one or the other.
I feel like the monster may get a few people. But speaking of monsters, I think I bragged too much last week because I didn't pick the right driver. But let's talk about picks. Brandon, let's start with you.
Well, I gotta go with the trend center. I did my studying this week. Nick Ottinger is my guy. He's going to victory lane tonight.
This is like the 3rd or 4th time this has happened. I'm never going to make up any ground because I also picked Nick Ottinger. Hopefully that means we're going somewhere, but I'm not picking up on Brandon at all. But look, Nick Ottinger hasn't finished outside of the top 4 since about February. You got to go with it. I can't. And now he's on the pole. I'm rolling with him.
I mean, both of you picked Nick Ottinger. Of course, I have to go Nick Ottinger as well. Oh my God.
You're just playing defense at this point. That's smart. I like it.
Who told you?
I may be playing a little defense, but I think it's the smart play for me right now. And honestly, it's looking pretty good for Nick. I just really hope we don't jinx Nick Ottinger tonight because that would be very unfortunate.
That would be very bad.
Now talking about the drivers and tonight, what's getting you most excited for the race ahead?
You know, just this next gen car at Dover. I think we're going to see some multi-grid racing. I think we're going to see some rubber being laid down. It's going to create so much. I don't know. It's going to be different tonight for sure, and I'm just excited to see it. Obviously, Nick Ottinger, there he is, right there. He's your man. He's warming up. He's getting ready.
But Nick is like warming up with laser focus. I feel like Nick's already placing himself in that race, ready to hopefully take it for all of our sakes because of our picks. It's some, the special quality a driver has, and Nick has really shown that he has that special quality.
He has, especially here, and that's what's so cool about the real life racing and here in the eNASCAR league is that they have the same questions. They're trying to answer them right now with the practices, right? What's the track going to do? Will it rubber in? What will the tire wear be like? What will the loads be like on these cars? These are all questions drivers, no matter the situation, if you will, have to answer, and that's why they're so focused right now. And it looks like he's got the confidence. You can just see the confidence in him right now.
And I really like what that car is doing right now. He's sliding up in the center. He's able to cut. He's got the drive off. This is dangerous for the field, guys. This is even dangerous for Michael Conti. You look at he's the only other one with 2 wins for the season right now. Nick Ottinger, he's looking for his second, and he's got the trends to back up for the season. So if I'm Michael Conti, I'm a little scared right now.
Well, I was just about to ask, how do you think the other drivers feel seeing that this monster Nick Ottinger really just keeping up?
Yeah, I mean, Nick is really personally, I know Nick is a consistent, very good driver, and he will give you his 100% each week out. This guy will get the job done, and like I said, it's bad news for the field when he qualifies on the pole. And 4 poles already this season. What are we, 6 races in? You have to get it done on your qualifying lap if you want to do anything for the season, especially with the races being shorter.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at some driver faces because we talked about that laser focus that Nick has, but if you look here, a lot of them are really focused. Yeah, maybe some mouths open. When you're so focused, you're just like...
I was one of those drivers. I was a mouth breather when I was driving. I would always do that. So I know that feeling. Look at Ray Alfala. He's so relaxed right now. He just wants this thing to start. He's in the top right there. Look at him.
Yeah, and you know what? It is a tough time to get in that headspace right now, and we're seeing this is a really tense moment that we don't usually get to see. I think this is the first time we're seeing it on Countdown to Green for this season.
Yeah,
Alan.
I like this. I like seeing this because as we showed before, the trends, whether you believing in numbers or not, winning early in the season seems to be a huge indicator on how you do later on. So, we're not getting any shorter here. So it is time to win. It is time to win now. And it could happen tonight. You could see the concentration on these guys. I like that shot because some of them are nervous.
They are definitely nervous, but I think they're ready, and we are ready to get closer and closer to the race. Thank you so much for watching Countdown to Green. We're going to hand it off to Evan and Blake.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there, and they never tasted this good.
All right, let's have some fun.
This is virtual racing with real life stakes.
My expectation of making this championship for
Ray Alfala, it's for sure a threat to the competition. My number one goal is to get back in victory lane.
I'm gonna just go out there and control what I can control.
10 feet ahead of you, catch me in something you'll never do. I turn around and I level. No motivation is needed. Look, I put myself on the pedestal. This is incredible. This how it feels at the top. Got no incentive to stop. Put the work in, I'm on the end. Murder the tune, it's around the end. We're climbing a beat and it's right back to sleep. And I use a technique that ain't got me.
The road to $300,000 is poised for a heavyweight fight with Miles the Monster. We're from iRacing's virtual Dover Motor Speedway. We say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 6 of the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And happy day with us, as always, on a Tuesday evening, alongside of myself, Evan Pasoko. Happy to be joined, as always, by Blake McCandless in the broadcast booth. And Blake, a very different challenge tonight from what we saw a couple of weeks ago in the Bristol Dirt Race. This is a race that we have seen many a times in series history. First time, though, the next-gen cars that take on the Monster Mile.
Absolutely, Evan. We've come back to this track time and time again, but like you mentioned, totally different feel with these next-gen cars, how it's going to behave in the pack, how loose they get off the corner. That's one thing we've seen all year long, and particularly at the mile and a half. So when we finally get on the concrete, I think these drivers are going to be struggling. They're going to have their hands full tonight. Should be a good show.
And of course, it is a critical point as we get deeper into this regular season and drivers start to accumulate now second trips to victory lane. We're starting to figure out who has well adapted better sooner in the year, and it's going to be critical as we continue towards the playoffs a little bit later on this year. Enough said, though, it is time to go racing, so let's go trackside for the most famous words in motorsports.
On behalf of the almost 2,000 Relodyne associates and thousands of Relodyne customers throughout the world, drivers, start your engines.
For the fourth time in 6 races, Nick Ottinger and his William Byron Esports Chevrolet are on a pole position. He will start from the front row tonight alongside the Kyle Long-owned Mode Motorsports 75 of Matt Busa. His teammate, though, going to be right behind him. The other William Byron Esports Chevrolet of Logan DeClampett will start third alongside the Rise Esports fueled by Sudoku Toyota of Jimmy Mullis. Stewart Haas Esports is number 10 as Steven Wilson will double up with Team Dillard Esports' Taylor Hurst on row number 3. Back at row 4, you'll find the second Stewart Haas Ford of Dylan Duvall alongside the Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota of Bobby Zelensky. Inside of row number 5, P9 tonight belongs to the Junior Motorsports entry of Michael Conti, and Clint Boyer Racing gets Femi Olat inside of the top 10.
A little further on back at row number 6, it'll be Donovan Strauss for Williams Esports alongside Corey Vincent there in that beautiful Coca-Cola number 3 machine. 2311's Mitchell DeYoung will start at the inside of row 7 with Junior Motorsports' Briar LaPrade to his outside. I just got his t-shirt this week. Nice little touch there. Cody Baez for Media will start at the inside of row number 8. And of course, Zach Novak there for Rise Esports will start in 16th. 17th will be Joe Gibbs Racing's own Ray Alfala. 18th to Space Station Gaming's Alan Bose. 19th, iRacing Motorsports is Malik Ray. And Michael Guest, Jim Beaver Sports, second in the team points, right out the top 20.
Well, talking about points, we spent a lot of time this year as the rest of the grid scrolls through the bottom of your screen talking about the Nick Ottingers of the world, the Steven Wilsons, but Matt Busa, James Pike is top 5 at points coming into tonight, and he's got a great starting spot. You're with him.
He does indeed, starting on the outside of the front row for Mode Motorsports. Matt, traditionally, this is known as a very, very tough racetrack. For you, What's the hardest part about making consistently fast laps at Dover Motor Speedway?
Yeah, it's really all about tire management here. That's probably the most difficult part. It's really easy to just feel like you can push it and think you're not hurting your tires, but you really are. So you just gotta remember to have patience, lift a little earlier, short run, get on a throttle a little bit later, but at the same time you gotta manage not letting cars behind you start to train you, send you to the back of the pack. So it's a tough balance, but hopefully we can keep the 75 mode media house up front.
It's the first time that we've run with the next-gen car here in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series at Dover. Do you feel like the new car will change the way drivers will approach tonight's race?
Yeah, compared to the last couple of years, it's definitely going to be more fun for the drivers, more challenging at the same time. Those kind of go hand in hand. And I think tire wear, again, is going to be the bigger difference. Last year, the last couple of years here, I felt the car get tighter throughout the run. This time around, I'm getting way looser as the tires wear out, so I think that's going to be the biggest difference.
Matt Busa looking to continue his strong start to the 2022 season.
He's in a really good spot to do so on the front road. Blake, we mentioned we are no strangers to the Monster Mile. This is the 9th time in series history we're going racing here at Dover Motor Speedway. Walk us through it with a look at a race news race analysis.
Some familiar real estate here at Dover Motor Speedway, but we'll take a look here. 120 laps, which if you think about how fast the banking here at this racetrack, that's going to go by very, very quickly. And of course, you look a little bit further down, 35 miles per hour and a lot of time that you lose on pit road. Going to make strategy really interesting on when you want to come down pit road. 3 tire sets are available, and that fuel window, we may even go a little bit past 70 laps. I know I was doing a run a little bit earlier, and you could almost get as high as 85, maybe even 90 laps on fuel, depending on the gear package that you're running. So going to make it very interesting to see when you want to pit, if you want to stay out and risk it on that strategy. Let's take a look at the temperature. Going to be relatively cool out here in Dover, Delaware. 68 degrees, only 89 on the track, so should make for some very fast speeds here around the Monster Mile.
This racetrack has become kind of a biennial staple, appearing on the calendar about every other year. Last time we were here in 2020, Nick Ottinger took home the checkered flag. In 2018, it was Michael Conti. Those are some notable names because they have both already found victory lane here this season. So seemingly have got these next-gen cars figured out. They're both starting inside of the top 10. The lights are out on top of the iRacing official pace car. Going to be diving down it in this time. And the field is in the hands of the 25 Logitech G Chevrolet of Nick Ottinger. We're happy that you're with us, as always, on a Tuesday night as they roll through turn number 4. And we say, let's go racing at Dover. Ottinger gets away early. He's looking to lead lap number 1. The fight's going to be for second, and it's his teammate, the 97 of Clampett, up the inside, trying to get around Matt Busa, 2 wide from that battle on back.
Well, it was a strong run for William Byron Esports at Bristol Dirt. Obviously, Ottinger got the win. Clampett was up there as well, and now trying to get up into the top 2. They're 3 wide behind them, though.
And there's a lot going on in the mid-pack. It was right behind Femiol at the 79 machine, who runs right now up in P6, trying to get all the way clear of the 33 of Taylor Hurst. And they're kind of 2-3 rows back on the side-by-side. And here's an onboard look as we ride with Bobby Zelensky, the 18 Interstate Batteries Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. And that driver to Fresno, California, trying to maintain. Stuck up on the outside at the moment, though. When they single file out, these drivers wanting to get low, but outside working all right for Bobby as he's almost all the way around to Taylor Hurst.
Well, and I think as you can see, Bobby Zielinski using that Formula Rim return. We saw Mitchell DeYoung, who always uses that Formula Rim. He went back to the stock car steering wheel when we were at Bristol Dirt. I think it's nice to see you get here at Dover. They've kind of returned to that open wheel rim. But Zielinski's not in a bad spot here. You see all that clean air that he's getting. Is everybody going to ride in line to the bottom? You've seen a couple of checkups he's been able to take advantage of. So even though that bottom may be the preferred line, I think with how fast you're going, the speeds here, we know dirty air is certainly a case, and Zielinski getting some good clean air around that 5th spot.
That's the key, is trying to get a little bit of space early in this one. I mean, these are quick laps, 22 seconds with these fresher tires. Those are going to wane a little bit as the run goes on, but if you talk about some of the unique characteristics here at Dover, this concrete surface that's been in use since 1995 is what really is the difference maker, talking about grip. We're on board with a 4-time champ, and Alfala thought about going 3 wide, but he opted not to go underneath that Sunoco Toyota in front of him, so the 5 Novak defends for the moment. And Alfala tucks in line now as the 7 Malik Ray ends up underneath him and gets the best in that duo. Ray running 19th at the moment.
Well, and a lot of that was caused by a stack-up. I think it was Mitchell DeYoung who nearly lost it right in front of him. You could see the reaction there from Alfala right as we were riding on board with him. But calm, cool, and collected, you wouldn't think any different for a 4-time champ to be able to get through that.
We've talked a lot about how we've seen some of the veteran drivers be able to step up to the plate, and maybe none more so than Michael Conti. You can see his number 8 Chevrolet there, the 2-time race winner this year, running comfortably inside of the top 10. Let's watch this again, and this is from the perspective of that number 5 car, Novak. You're going to see up the road the 23, contact, and what a save as DeYoung got all kinds of out of shape. And I think for the checkup we saw, that was pretty minor, considering how squirrely that 23 car got DeYoung. Beautiful piece of driving to stay in this race.
Well, again, we've seen time and time again, these are the best drivers in the world, Evan, and they struggle to save these race cars. So that is a masterful piece of driving there from Mitchell DeYoung, using his rallycross background, no doubt, to try and collect that car back up. But up front, you're seeing Matt Busa, Jimmy Mullis starting to reel in Nick Ottinger just a little bit. You can see it right on board here of Femi Olot, who rides in that 6th, and he's got 1 car on the outside of him. That is Michael Conti, who's had an awfully strong start to the season for Junior Motorsports, and Conti's going to take advantage of that outside slot right in, so kick Femi back to 8th.
You're looking up at this line up front, your top, I'd say 7 or so, single filed out. Femi, the first one, in a bit of a side-by-side bout with that 3 of Corey Vincent to his outside, just out of frame. And there is the 3 Coca-Cola Chevrolet as Vincent's able to slide on through, getting the run off of the corners. We heard them talking about it a little bit, Blake, and countdown to green, but most racetracks, when you go to the banking, you go up the hill, right? You're going up and into the banking. Here at Dover, you really fall down and into it, and what that means is coming up and off of the corners, really unique here, because you're coming up out of a pit, the car gets really loose, and if we're going to see problems tonight, corner exit's certainly going to be a place to watch.
Oh, no doubt. A lot of these drivers, watching some of the practice races going on a little bit earlier this week, they're getting these cars really low to the ground, and especially on restarts with low air pressure, these rear diffusers are scraping the ground. So we're able to get through the first couple of laps pretty clean and green. But particularly when we get these restarts, they have these cars set really low, and if that rear diffuser drags or bottoms out at all, it is a handful to try to keep together, especially here at Dover, where that corner exit can really sneak up on you with the safer barriers and how they poke out. And change for 2nd place, Busa is back, and there is Jimmy Mullis, who nearly had Ottinger pass just 2 laps ago, but the Sunoco Chevrolet looks to be awfully strong there, trying to cut through traffic and get to the race lead.
He has been doing a good job. We were watching his teammate, the 5 Novak, a little bit earlier. You think you might be seeing double, but those are 2 different Rise Esports Fueled by Sunoco entries, and it is Mullis in the number 46 Chevrolet running up and in the number 2 position. Now trying to chase down that 25 of Ottinger. Mullis +2. He's been able to get around both Clampett and Busa early in this race, but Ottinger's not able to get anything really. I mean, his gap right now, but a car length maybe, as behind them, Clampett going to go down to the inside, and he'll make a pass on Busa, so move Clampett back to 3rd where he started, and now Busa -2 on the afternoon.
Well, Busa and Clampett work together a lot in this series, so no shocker there to see some cordial driving between them there. Busa says, I'll see you later. Hopefully, he lets the 97 on by, but I really like Jimmy Mullis right now, able to cut through traffic. I think once he gets to clean air, he could have it, but our first caution flag of the evening, Evan, and I can look back here and see one destroyed race car. It is Blade Witt, and it started out, unfortunately, I talked to the team principal for eRacer earlier today, and I said, how are you going to crash today? Because they've had some bad luck. He said, we're going to roll the dice. Well, unfortunately, Colin Bowden was involved in that, but it looks like Blade Witt got the worst end of it.
Yeah, we'll take a second look at a moment here and saw how this one unfolded. It looked like kind of a de facto 3-wide where one of the cars up on the outside was a little bit slow and it kind of stacked them all up. Let's take a look at now. You're going to be watching for the 16 Ford of Witt. That's the blue, white, and orange Mustang. And watch up the road. You see that 24 a little bit slow. Bias kind of backed up to Colin Bowden, who you were talking about, Blake. And what that did was 69 kind of checked up. He wasn't really sure. Am I going to stay behind the 24? Am I going to go under the 24? And because of that, the 16 was kind of lined up for the quarter panel. They weren't really 3-wide, but nobody really knew where they were. No. And look at this decision. Ottinger up front stays out. He is one of only 2 drivers to not pit. Brotherton will cycle to second, but everybody else is in.
That is an insane call, Evan. I know Nick Ottinger, he has a couple wins in the bag. He can afford to be aggressive, but we're right at the edge of that fuel window already. It's a really short race. I remember I did a run earlier. I went 95 laps on fuel, running just a couple of practice laps in AFIX a little bit earlier on today. So this is setting up what we had in the Contender Series race here a couple of months ago, where it's going to be really close on fuel if we go green to the end. So surprised to see these two stay out.
Well, as we take some caution laps here at the virtual Dover Motor Speedway, I want to welcome in a special guest to tonight's broadcast, Mike Tatoyan, the track president at Dover. Mike, thanks so much for giving us a little bit of time. Just want to start by asking you, for those who may not be familiar with the role of a track president, what are your day-to-day operations and functions in the running of the racetrack?
Well, I think the best way you can describe my role on race weekend, the way I've described it in the past, it's akin to a director of a play. All of the work, all of the preparation, all of the detail, everything that goes into a successful Hollywood play happens before the weekend gets here. And the weekend is really pulling the curtain back and hoping that all the preparation that your team has done over the past handful of months comes to fruition. So my role really is at that point just making sure to be on top of keeping all the fires at a low burn and just making sure we execute like the staff is planned.
Well, on paper, it's Dover Motor Speedway, but a lot of people know this racetrack as the Monster Mile. Where'd that name come from?
Oh, I love it. I think it's terrific. It does what you all are doing. That it does so much for our track and our industry. For us, it really does give us an opportunity to extend our brand. So it's a chance for us to get in front of more eyeballs, the next generation of fans. I think that recognizing how difficult it is to actually race on our track. So, and it's a great marketing tool for us. So I think just about every aspect of us being able to be a part of the series is a terrific asset to us and to our industry. And it's a great way, hopefully we can take some of those participants and create some real fans so they can come out and see the real Monster Mile someday. So it really is a huge benefit for us, and we really appreciate being a part of it.
Well, we got a lot of racing left to go tonight, Mike. We'll let you get back to it. Thank you for your time. That is track president here at the Dover Motor Speedway, Mike Tatoyan. And, of course, looking forward to some of the racing upcoming, not only over the course of tonight's race, but, of course, NASCAR weekend coming up at the Monster Mile this weekend. So if you are in the area, make sure you get your tickets and enjoy a lot of the great racing action coming up this weekend. Of course, that's all highlighted by the Duramax Driving 400 this Sunday, May the 1st at 3 p.m. Eastern on FS1. You can see bottom right corner of your screen if you want the latest news and updates from the world of eNASCAR, then sign up today by scanning that QR code, and you can stay in the loop on all things eNASCAR. iRacing, the official simulation partner of NASCAR. Pace car back off and in, though. Let's see what the old tires can do on the front row. Green flag flies. It's a good jump for Ottinger, Blake, but how long can those two hang on?
Well, from what I've seen a little bit earlier, the fall off is going to be roughly half a second at this point in the run. So Ottinger, clean air, but I don't think it's too much longer. Oh, Clampett, hard to the inside wall, who moved right up the racetrack. Oh, and Clampett goes flying into the Ally Bridge. Caution is out, and we were talking about it in our pre-race meeting, Evan. When these crashes happen, they move on the racetrack because there's just nowhere to go, and Logan Clampett, worst end of that for the William Byron Esports Chevrolet.
It was a mammoth hit for the 97 of Logan Clampett, and then you saw as he went airborne and into the fence down in turn number 3, he took others with him. You know, they always call this racetrack a self-cleaning track, right? You're never on the flat if you're on the racetrack, right? Even the straightaways here banked at 9 degrees, so if there's a lazy spin, someone's going to spin down to the bottom, but there's really no apron here. And what you'll see when we take a look at the Coca-Cola replay is what happens when Clampett bounces back up into traffic. That's the difference maker here. It's all going to start through 1 and 2. Watch the 97 car. He comes up off the corner, but right there, it was the 46 of Mullis who bounced off the wall, came down on Godman right there. He goes up in traffic, gets absolutely clobbered by Colin Keister. The Charlotte Phoenix Toyotas into the fence as well. Several other drivers collected, including Keegan Leahy and more. So a big wreck here in the opening 25.
My goodness. I mean, Logan Clampett, a gnarly hit right there for Colin Keister. You hate to see it for all the folks out there in Charlotte enjoying the festivities out there, but it looks like they're going to be down a driver into this. I tell you what, the angle from one of the XSET cars in Ryan Luza, he's got to have a heck of a view for that because he may have just gotten into the wall, but I think he drove under both Logan Clampett and Colin Keister there off the exit of turn 4, so my goodness. Well, that's why they stayed out up front, Evan, is they didn't want to be a part of that, I'm sure.
That is always the concern, is you're worried about getting service to get back it into the mess, and this may not work out long run for Ottinger and Brotherton, but at least they were ahead of this one. Let's watch the perspective of the number 6 machine. That's Parker Retzlaff off of turn 2. Look at those cars up and into the air in front of him, and somehow parts the seas, more cars wrecking in the center of 3 and 4. But his Kohler Generators Ford is able to sneak on through, and Retzlaff, because of that, up 11 spots from where he started to P21.
And that's just such tough luck for Garrett Maines, all those guys that, you know, it looked like we had been pretty clean. And I know we had some picks on the over-under of cautions for the production team. We won't let those numbers out, I guess, until after the race. But it's exactly why you want that track position. This is great real estate up here, Evan, to be able to have it, James. And I'm sure not a very thrilled couple of drivers that we're going to get to talk to here, James.
Yeah, we've got Pilots at Virginia's Garrett Maines for Elliott Sadler Esports. And Garrett, that's got to be one of the toughest sights to see when you've got a wreck like that playing out of Dover. Could you have done anything to try and avoid it?
I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea that it was even happening. I saw a couple cars checking up, so I thought, oh, the wreck must be up high. So I started swerving, and literally the first time I saw him, he was on my hood. So it really sucks for the ChevyLiners.com Camaro here. Just tore up again.
It's a tough break for Garrett Maines. Also worth noting, I know Mitchell DeYoung talked a little bit about how he was getting tight right before the incident. He had Logan's incident looks like a bit of a carbon copy, so we might need to watch drivers getting tight off 2 and 4. That could be an issue going throughout this race.
Mentioned earlier, got to watch the corner exit. It was a major factor in that one. From the inside row, Nick Ottinger takes the green flag. 25 laps down, 95 to go in Dover. Your top 2 single file to turn 1, but it's going to be for 3rd as Brotherton tries to shake off those fresh tires on the outside.
Well, and Brotherton going to have to hang on. As you can see, both Sunoco entries riding just on the top side. Brotherton going to really stack up that inside line on these older tires, it will equalize at a certain point. So Brotherton, I mean, he was back in the 30th position. I almost applaud the call to stay out and try to gain some track position, but it's going to be having to hang on for everything he's worth, and he's doing a solid job right now on the bottom, just trying to ride this thing out until those tires start to get a little bit more similar lap times, but he'll drift on back once again. And again, the pair of Sunoco Chevrolet is able to get on by.
Well, to Brotherton in a very different spot than Ottinger, right? Brotherton stayed out from 30th, so as he keeps dropping, still in the green. You're on board with the Coca-Cola onboard camera as trying to find a way through is Corey Vincent on the outside. And come to the end of lap number 28, Caden Honeycutt is not happy over the radio, so I would assume he is one of the drivers involved, but you can see a damaged 51 Toyota of Ray Alfala. He is near where this all started. It happened in turn number 3. And again, under the yellow, another opportunity for some possible pit service. But, you know, restart, you bunch everybody up. Blake, you got guys on top of each other, and you're going to get stuff like this off of, restarts.
Well, Evan, I think that this wreck is going to keep our trend going of teammates wrecking each other. See, Ottinger kind of faking that he's going to go down pit road right there. But once again, and I think this is the second time that we've seen these two specific drivers get together, and Donovan Strauss and Vicente Salas off of turn number 2. We've seen this a number of times where that driver on the outside might just fishtail a little bit, but look right here at Alfala. You see the contact in front, and Salas able to collect it, save it, but was still on the inside. Alfala trying to get by that slower car 3 wide, and then they all come piling in a really tough spot right near that pit road entry, because you want to miss those barrels in that pit road wall.
Yeah, it is tough. It was a good job to save that race car by Vicente, but he needed just a little bit more time to settle it back down, right, to get into the corner, and he did push up a little bit on entry. Alfala trying to sneak through, gets clipped, and he gets turned around, and I believe James Spikes got him on the radio.
Indeed, with Ray Alfala. And Ray, could you tell that there was anyone underneath you, or is that just more the byproduct of everybody racing hard on the restart, and you've got just a million balls to juggle a million cars to keep track of at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, Vicente got loose off of 2, and I tried to go split the middle, and I think we just made contact entering turn 3, so just unfortunate, can't catch a break. I've been, this is the 5th race now, we've been wrecked or had some sort of issue in all 5 races, so I don't know what I need to do. I guess I just need to start up front, so just got to work on qualifying, I guess.
How tough is it to race on these restarts, especially as narrow as Dover can be? I think it deceives a lot of people, but can you take people at home what it's like to have to be in that position?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. We actually felt we had a pretty good car, and there's just no room to go anywhere. If you get a run, everybody's so equal in speed that you have to let it go. You have to let it go into a long run if you're going to make any moves at all. And we were looking okay right there, just kind of being conservative, biding our time, and got us wrecked anyway. So there's no real strategy to miss wrecks, especially if you're just in the middle of the pack.
It's a tough race out there, and a tough racetrack with not a lot of spaces, especially on that back straightaway where we've seen a lot of incidents develop tonight.
We talk about some of the drivers taking some of those hard hits here. 3 drivers have gone to the garage. Kyle Peddle earlier in the race, Logan Clampett as a result of the yellow prior to this. And most recently, Nicholas Shelton involved in this one goes to the garage. A quick follow-up point on Logan Clampett, Blake. It's been feast or famine for him. He has 3 finishes outside of the top 30, 2 finishes inside of the top 10. It's now going to be 4. So he will have 35th, 35th, 7th, 37th, 7th, and probably a 39th finish here tonight. So for Logan Clampett, feast or famine so far here in 2022.
Well, and you have to be happy with part of that, because every time he's been involved in an incident, he's been up front. He's been contending to be inside the top 10, to be inside the top 5. So in a way, it's a good problem to have, but if you're not able to get those wins, you have to rely on that consistency to either put you in the playoffs or to keep you out of potential relegation at the end of the season. So I guess for Clampy, you just got to put that together and find a way to avoid attrition that has really been a big theme in the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. I can't remember. It's been about 2 or 3 years since every single race we go on by. It seems like you really have to survive to get through these things, because we're tearing up 10, 15 cars every single race, it seems like.
And third caution going to fall behind us. Last time we were here in Dover, we only had 2 in a 200-lap race. So these next-gen cars proven to be a challenge. For this one, let's go on board. It's the Coca-Cola onboard camera with Corey Vincent, P7. Going from about 178 miles an hour into the corner down to 150. So dropping nearly 30 miles an hour through the centers with all of that off-throttle time as we take a step back in the field to find the 88 of Briar LaPrade in the midst of quite the battle right now. He's ahead of Vicente Salas, but you got Rex Lapp. You got the 48 of Bolin. Oh, and into the outside wall goes Vicente Salas. Quick recovery for the Williams Esports Toyota, but a bit of a hold-your-breath moment there as Bolin was able to make the pass on the inside.
Well, you can see directly in front of him the other end of that Williams Esports entry, and Donovan Strauss right in front of Briar LaPrade. I got to talk to a couple of those guys when we were at Atlanta several weeks ago in the real world. So they think you usually try and drive people a little bit better if you've seen them in person or at least interacting with them a little bit. But Briar just trying to get a solid run here as we'll just way forward a couple of spots since the drop of the green flag. So good for LaPrade, but finally Ottinger may start to feel those old tires as inside wall. Caden Honeycutt on the front straightaway.
Tough break as another yellow flies in. Honeycutt is destroyed. Oh, and more cars are wrecking. The 46 of Mullis is around now on the back straightaway. Either this happened at the same time or under the yellow, but there was definitely a wreck on the front stretch. And at the same time, I believe, a completely separate incident on the back straightaway. We caught the one with Honeycutt first. I believe he is the first wreck. He was at a complete stop, Blake, before that secondary incident even happened. So you have to wonder, were those cars getting together lifting or what happened? Let's take a look and watch.
Let's see exactly what happened. From my replay and what I'm looking at, the caution light comes out just, mere moments before these two get together. So the caution came out about, just a millisecond before these two got collected. So it happened under caution. I wouldn't say it was caused by anybody slowing down or checking up or anything like that. But finally, we have Nick Ottinger coming down pit road.
It is a lonely road as he comes down pit road, not completely on his own. A couple of drivers towards the rear as well going to be coming in. So Ottinger, Bowden, Alfalla, Ray, Bose, Mullis, Honeycutt, Alt, Justice, Luza, Keister, all down pit road. But that's notable because Ottinger was playing defense and defending the race lead. He's now going to go all the way back in traffic. We talked about some of the bad luck for Colin Keister, and you referenced, Blake, the watch party that's going on with the Charlotte Phoenix here tonight. We've talked about it a couple of times over the course of the year, but you want to be there in 2 weeks' time for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Pro Battle live event, as both Charlotte Phoenix and the Jeter Motorsports drivers will be in attendance, and there's a live look in at them tonight.
Trying to cheer on their driver that is left in Graham Boland, but of course this is going to be a crossover between Junior Motorsports and the Charlotte Phoenix. They're giving away an entire sim rig, Evan. I mean, that's a big
Can
draw.
we go?
If you want
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's bring it on the road.
Hey, Charlotte's about 2.5 hours from me. I hope I'll broadcast from there if our production team will allow it.
It'd probably be like a 20-hour drive for me, but I'm down. I think we got to take the show on the road at some point. So a shout out to them. They're bringing the energy every single week, and that's really cool. In 2 weeks' time, if you're in the area, to get there.
Certainly so, and they've had a lot to cheer about this year. I mean, new team coming into the series. They're leading the team points right now. Unfortunately for them, Colin Keister behind the wall right there, but to be able to replicate a live event and to have everybody, have a crowd cheering for you, that's going to be really interesting. I know we saw it several months ago with Monday Night Racing having their Championship 4 event at that Esports Hub, and I can tell you the energy, the buzz of a live crowd racing in front of them, it's going to be a great experience for Keister, for Graham Boland, for all these drivers for Junior Motorsports. It's going to be a great time.
It is going to be a good time. We look forward to seeing how that one shakes out in a couple of weeks. Of course, if you're watching some of the racing action tonight and want to get involved, for information on how to start your iRacing career today, you can log on to iRacing.com for more information. As always, up to 40% off all new memberships. And of course, if you want to learn more about this series, keep up to date with things like the schedule, the standings, and even how to qualify for this series one day, you can find all of that also at iRacing.com/eNASCAR. That is basically your Coke Series home. Bookmark iRacing.com/eNASCAR. Make it your homepage, and you'll be up to date on everything all season long.
Looks like lights will go off on the pace car here, 1 to go, and catching up now to where Nick Ottinger fell back to. He will have fresher tires than everybody else, Evan. I'll give him that, but he is all the way back here in 26th. So we'll have to watch the trek through the field and how that 25 handles getting back there and getting in some dirty air, and how quickly he can try to pick drivers off, go one by one. He's the cleanest car back there. Every single car that he's around has some form or a little bit of damage. So we'll see how Ottinger can move up and how this race will shake out. I know Michael Conti's been so strong all season long, Evan. I think he's in a great position here to lead out front, but you see Ottinger a long road ahead to try to get back through the field.
And let me say, the cleanest car back there for now. I think there's a reason the cars in the 20s are torn up. That's where some of the crazy stuff has been. So as the pace car dives off at it, Michael Conti assumes the control car position up front. We'll watch this restart for the Logitech G onboard camera. You're riding with Nick Ottinger, P26. Ottinger was the lead car on the fresh tires, but struggling to make his way through and up towards the front of the field. Look at the battle with Femi Olat and Dylan Duvall running inside of the top 10. Both of them high side and around the 95 of Casey Kerwin, who slides back a little bit in the battle with the 23 to Young for P9. You go on board with Dylan Duval. Here's his perspective as the Canadian races down the back straightaway and into turn number 3. He's got a great view of a battle up the road between the 5 machine and the 75 up on the outside now, as Matt Busa is trying to get around Novak in a scrap for P4.
Well, a couple of cars in front of him, a couple of cars behind him scrapping it out. I know we just talked about Casey Kerwin, biggest mover. He was the only driver that started outside the top 20 who had worked his way up into the top 10, currently riding in the 11th position right now, just a little further on back to where we're looking right now at the top 4. Novak trying to chase down Corey Vincent, who is just very quietly had worked his way up slowly but surely. I mean, that's classic Corey Vincent right there, to just get after it, not say a whole lot, and just be riding around in great position. So Corey Vincent, one of those other drivers like Coca-Cola Chevrolet, seems to be a driver that flies under the radar a lot. We don't talk about him a whole lot, but he always comes back to the series, shows some great consistency, and proven that he might be able to tame Miles the Monster tonight, sitting in P3.
Yeah, I think he's a perennially underrated driver. Corey Vincent's got a lot of success here in this series, a 3-time race winner over the course of his career, fighting for a bubble spot into the postseason so far in 2022 and looking to make big strides in the right direction. If his positioning here tonight could hold, he has a best finish of the year of 4th from a couple of weeks back at Richmond. So clearly, he's a fan of these shorter tracks, as your top 12 or so have single filed out. Again, Conti assumed the race lead when we saw Ottinger give it up and dive down pit road. But back here in the pack, still a ton of stuff going on, including Ottinger trying to get through traffic and to make his way through the field. Still no better than 23rd, unable to get up and around all these drivers. The likes of Bordeaux, who's behind him, and just in front of him, some fighting between Brian Mercurio, Blake Reynolds, and some other drivers.
Reynolds having a solid run, having a solid season right now, sitting nearly up into the top 6 in points. If you look at the bottom right of your screen there, you can see a replay. Once again, you can look at the 42 car. My goodness, what a job collecting that up. That is Derek Bordeaux, who was able to chase it all the way up the racetrack. I believe it was one of the William Esports Toyotas that made that contact, but Bordeaux, a brilliant job keeping that car together. I'm hearing it was Garrett Maines that 42 made contact with.
Another good piece of drive, and the banking certainly going to help you. But of course, Bordeaux loses some spots at all of that, and he has slipped back to be exactly where his E-Racer teammate is. Bordeaux and Bowden running 26 and 27 on the racetrack at the moment, as we jump back inside of the top 5 and pick back up the fight for about 5th on back. You see that 10 of Steven Wilson's a little bit disconnected from the top 4 in front of him. He's playing defense right now. He's got Busa, Olot, DeYoung, Duval, Hurst all over him. That group of 6 cars within a second of each other as they run. And talking about those names, let's look on board with Steven Wilson. There's his live in-car look, bottom right corner of your screen. Very calm, collected, not a ton of wheel input. Seems pretty on assignment. I mean, he's gripping the wheel hard, don't get me wrong, but not a lot of heavy turning in, not a lot of overcorrecting. He's trying to be as precise in those wheel inputs as he can. He is running exactly where he started this race some 55 laps ago in P5.
Well, that's exactly the type of handling car that you want. Not a whole lot of wheel input, smooth. You can see right in that bottom, diamonding the quarter just a little bit, but still able to stay right on that bottom. Doesn't appear as if his car is too damaged or too hurt by the dirty air and traffic, I guess I should say. So solid there for Steven Wilson, who is having a career year so far in 2022.
He has been doing a really good job to this point. Race win in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, 3 top 10s. He had one last week at Bristol Dirt with a P2. He finished 3rd in the Daytona opener, and his worst finish is P22. A lot of drivers would really like for that to be their worst showing of the year. So Wilson has absolutely been showing out in this one, as we go back down to James Pike on pit road.
I've had my eyes on Nick Ottinger after he came down pit road under that last yellow. Restarted in 26. He's already up to 16. Says that the car's a little bit free and that he's just trying to save the right rear. But now that we've strung this field out a little bit under the green flag run, he's been able to use that high line. He was getting bottlenecked when they were 2x2 right after the restart. But now that it's opened up, he's been able to start picking off cars, start making his way back towards the front.
He has been leading that charge. Ottinger now up to 15th position, still the lead car on fresh tires. He's got about a 20-lap advantage on some of the drivers around him. So not going to be walking the park, but certainly with an upper hand. This time by, going to be halfway home from Dover. It's Michael Conti, though, in control of the field, looking for his third win of 2022.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. And they never tasted this good.
There's a reputation on the track, being built this very minute.
He's made his own history!
One that embraces the crazy,
Oh my goodness!
the fast, and the unpredictable.
Everett's gonna win it at the line!
That looks into the eye of the competition and screams, bring it. Loud enough so the whole world will see it coming. I am the NASCAR Xfinity Series. I am NASCAR.
And back live from iRacing's virtual Dover Motor Speedway coverage of tonight's race, brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Asus, the official PC and monitor of eNASCAR. And by Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedal set of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We are past the cross flags point at round number 6 of this 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series season, and Michael Conti has assumed the top position through some pit strategy. He has led the last 27 laps consecutive, ahead of this trio behind him. Bobby Zelensky in the green to P2, fitting for that Interstate Batteries Toyota. He's ahead of Vincent 3rd and Novak 4th, as we're starting to see the field spread out on this green flag run.
I think we're starting to see just why this racetrack has the reputation that it does have. You really have to have a fast car to be able to make moves, to be able to make passes, and to try and cut through right now. And we're just seeing that top line not really coming in. This next-gen car can just carry so much speed around the center of the corner that despite the fact that you could go up there, get a little bit of clean air, everybody right now can just cut through the corner so well. Dirty air not playing much of a factor. I'm sure if you're behind the wheel of one of those cars, you'd be saying different, but right now everybody just keeping pace with Michael Conti. They're not letting him get away, not exactly chasing him down either, hoping that by the time they get to lap 40 or 50 of this run that they'll start to make some progress.
He just tried to chip away and chip away. You can see on the top left corner of your screen 52 laps to go in this race. The drivers up front have been out there for 51 laps since they last pitted. They have had about 2 occasions to save a little bit of fuel under the caution flag, but that's still a tight number. And Ottinger has continued his march through the field. He is all the way up to position number 9 as they run right now.
To ninth is Ottinger, and it's kind of conventional wisdom, Evan, that at a certain point, the further you move up the field, the tougher it gets to pass, and that has been the case for Nick Ottinger, who was running the leaders down about a tenth and a half per lap, but has kind of stalled right now, 2.5 seconds back, and has found the faster cars. I mean, that's just racing in general. The further you get up, you're facing better cars, faster drivers, faster setups, and so Ottinger, as he's approached Femi Olot, he hasn't exactly been able to pass with ease like the 15 or so drivers behind him. Has a little bit of a nose right there. He's going to force the issue for sure, trying to get everything he can, but starting to now lose ground to Michael Conti despite the 21 lap fresher tires.
And that's really helping about here. The green flag also playing a factor, but Femi Olat's not going to roll over. As we continue into the latter stages of this 120-lap event here at the Dover Motor Speedway, let's take in the sights and sounds of the Monster Mile as we go iRacing full throttle. Two laps left to go on the scoring pylon. Continuing to watch this battle, Ottinger still unable to complete that pass on Femi Olat. And again, his tire advantage is never going to change. He's always got 20 lap better tires, Blake, but when you get 40 laps into a run, they no longer got that bite like they did right at the start. And Femi was doing a good job playing defense up on the top side and has successfully stalled out the charge from the 25.
Well, and you have to think that Ottinger was being rather aggressive trying to make up those spots. You saw everybody riding on the bottom, I'm sure, trying to save their tires a little bit, taking that shorter line around, and Ottinger was just flying around him, taking the top, being aggressive, making those moves, so I'm sure he did a number on those tires trying to make it forward as well, and you combine all that, being back in traffic, he's kind of stalled out.
Finally going to get around that number 79 of Ishida Volat, so give it to P8 for Ottinger. Up front, you're looking at Michael Conti. I mentioned him a couple of reasons. Of course, a two-time race winner already this year. He is a multiple-time race winner here at Dover. In the past, he's got 2 checkered flags at the Monster Mile previous, and he now has the most laps led in 43. But you see that bright green Toyota closing in is Bobby Zelensky. Zelensky's good about 9 or 8 tenths of a second better the last couple of times around. And there's your on-board look with Bobby Zelensky, that constant, determined look, the lean into the corners, the Formula Rim, all the things that Zelensky has become synonymous for here in these Tuesday night races. And I'll tell you what, he is putting the pressure down 4 100s better than Conti again the last time by, continuing to chip away at his race lead.
And doing just a job, like you said, just chipping away, getting little by little every single lap. He'll earn another 400ths of a second that last time. So just like you said, trying to get little gains at a time. You can see Donovan Strauss right here running in the 16th positions. This is, I think this is a run, Evan, that Donovan really needs. He's been struggling a lot as a rookie in this series. Came into this series through all the Road to Pro ranks, just absolutely dominating everything he stepped into. So I think this is a much-needed run for the young driver for Williams Esports. Donovan Strauss doing a very solid job riding around in the 16th position, and another young rookie right in front of him in Brian LaPrade in 15th. Garrett Lowe had a little bit of an issue earlier, Evan, when that wreck happened. He accidentally shifted it into neutral. He was lucky he didn't blow the motor, and since that has kind of moved up nicely up here into the top 20. Another driver who has not had a good time here in 2022, but I think we'll be happy to see the checker flag. It'll take a top 20 at this rate.
Hey, Garrett Lowe took a beating last week at the dirt track at Bristol Motor Speedway with a poor performance there, and a rough result dropped him down after a 31st place result outside of a playoff spot. Looking to bounce back. And Michael Guest right now, the driver to Brownsburg, Indiana, trying to maintain a healthy run right now. Middle of the road, 21st position. He is ahead of the number 6 machine of Parker Retzlaff. Of course, we talk about some of the rookie talent in this series this year, and kind of an interesting duo with the RFK Racing a bunch, with Retzlaff and Honeycutt being their duo, but not many rookies in this series, Blake, have the kind of real-life experience that Parker Retzlaff has had this year, as Colin Bowden behind all of them in 23rd.
No, certainly not. They have a lot of experience in that RFK camp racing in real life. And again, can't speak about how impressive Parker Retzlaff has been in the NASCAR Xfinity Series this season. But Colin Bowden, though, like many of the E-Racer entries this season, not a whole lot of luck. But again, we get our Colin Bowden shot of the race, because my goodness, we just can't go, I think, one event without mentioning that wonderful mullet that he's got going for him. Talked to him out at Martinsville at the eNASCAR trailer, and he was very excited. And you can see he's even got the NASCAR race. We've seen basketball, we've seen the NBA, and I see Ross Chastain and Raymond Smith there in the background right now.
Maybe he missed the Dega race. I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a mirror just out of frame. One to look at the mullet and the flow, and then 2 also to watch the Cup race going on behind him. We just need to get Bowden in one of those 87 cars, and then we'll set up a fan in his rig with him. Let that hair fly, get that authentic look as he's in the middle of the road. Up front, though, Bobby Zelensky has been able to reel in Michael Conti with 30 laps to go at Dover. Here he comes, looking to the inside in turn number 3. Conti is not going to roll over, though. He'll fight back side by side off of turn 4. It's going to be tough for the 8 car to shake that 18. Zelensky, the best car on track, and at lap number 92, new race leader Zelensky goes to the race lead, as he will set himself up to try to hang on to the end of this race. We'll step aside one final time. Conti down to pit road. The finish at Dover is next.
We've learned to savor the moments that were always there. And they never tasted this good.
And back live at Dover, coverage of tonight's race brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Asus, the official PC and monitor of eNASCAR. And by Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedal set of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. But we saw it just as we stepped aside. Michael Conti got past for the race lead. Bobby Zelensky now up top, James.
So this is about to get really, really fun because we've got drivers that are all over the place with regards to whether or not they can make it on fuel. Stephen Wilson in his Stewart Haas machine thinks he can make it all the way. We saw Michael Conti for Junior Motorsports come down right before the commercial break. He didn't think he could make it. That's why he came down. Meanwhile, Bobby Zelensky and that 18 for Joe Gibbs Racing, they've been doing the math, trying to figure out whether or not they're on the good side of the line or not. So that sort of ominous feeling that we get where we don't necessarily know who can and can't make it towards the end, up towards the front of the field. Everybody buckle up, because it seems like we're going to be in for one of those kinds of races just with the way the cautions have fallen.
And for what it's worth, inside of the top 15, oh, it's not going to matter. Caution. Big wreck on the back straightaway. Mullis is one of the drivers. Somebody else, the 23 of Mitchell DeYoung. And that changes everything, because Conti had lost the lead lap by coming down pit road. He'll have to look for a wave around, and Bobby Zelensky can eliminate those questions, because now he can either save the necessary fuel under yellow or come in, I think, most likely for tires. Blake, this will be a decision.
It certainly will, and I'm looking at this replay. I'm sure we'll get it up here in just a moment, and I'm just scratching my head at what is going on here with this incident, because you have two drivers, one in Jimmy Mullis and the other in Caden Honeycutt, who are both in 30th and in 31st. They're one lap down. We're going to see everybody come on the pit road, though, so no question about it. Everybody going to pit for those tires. So if you pit in the midst of that green flag stop, guess what? You're trapped a lap down, probably in a bad spot. But as they come down pit road, we'll look at this replay. You see Honeycutt on the bottom. He's got no front clip. You see Mullis on the outside, and Mullis is going to come all the way down the racetrack as Honeycutt was riding, I think, in a good spot on the bottom. They make contact. Unfortunate there for Mitchell DeYoung, just an innocent bystander. But I'm just wondering why Mullis was kind of cutting down there, because I think he wanted to slot in line behind the 17. I'm not sure, but he comes down, initiates that contact with Honeycutt, and unfortunately will throw a wrench at the end of this race.
So the tricky corner exit jumps back into the storylines, and Nick Ottinger will be the lead driver off of pit road. One driver stays out altogether, and Malik Ray in the SimSeats Ford Mustang has assumed the top position for the moment. We'll see if he's going to continue to stay out. I would assume he's just rolling the dice here, but it's worth noting that is a damaged number 7 Ford Mustang. And that Ottinger was good on fuel. Remember, if everybody else was close, Ottinger was 20 laps more to the good on fuel. He was fine. Ottinger did come down to the pit lane last time with everybody else. He went right sides only plus a splash. So he is the first car off of the pit lane on 2. Everybody behind him on 4. So it'll be Malik Ray on none, Ottinger on 2, Zelensky on 4. Everybody else from Zelensky in third on the back, also 4 fresh tires. And now that fuel question out of the question.
Well, and keep in mind here, I know we saw Ottinger, who was able to keep the race lead earlier on in this race on old tires, but he was on about 18, 20 lap older tires than everybody else. Malik Gray, right now, 70 laps is the difference on these tires. So it is going to be interesting to see how long Malik can hang on. Was running in a decent spot, though. I mean, actually, no, he wasn't. He was a little bit damaged. He was back in the 29th position. So really has nothing to lose at this point. I like the call from the 7, but you see a little bit of damage on the right front. Whether he can make it on fuel, that was kind of the talk too, Evan, so that's one thing we'll have to think about. So interesting call here. It'll definitely spice up the finish. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, Malik Ray was on the same strategy as Nick Ottinger was. Malik Ray pitted 62 laps ago, so should be good on fuel. Wasn't on the 80-lap run like some of the other drivers were, especially because he's got a little bit of time here to save under the yellow. Again, the question is, he's got old tires, plus that race car is pretty torn up. But I think the kind of snowball effect of what you're going to get for this is because he stays out, he will be on the inside of the front row. That's going to put Ottinger up top. That's going to be for an interesting run down to turn number 1, because it might actually help out Ottinger. Let's watch this race off of pit road. The 25 right sides only gets out first. You're racing to the white line there, and as he blends back out, you can see he's clear. Zelensky just hanging on over the 3 machine of Corey Vincent, who was right on him too. So Vincent going to be 4th.
Well, and that's a product of having that lead pit stall. One thing, when you get the pole, you get the best pit stall, and especially here at Dover, that white line is pretty close to that first pit stall, so you gain a lot of time doing it. But I don't think it would have mattered with that 2-tire call. I think Ottinger was going to come out in a great position nonetheless. He's got clean air. He still has some old left side tires, but not sure with how that car's behaved out front if it's going to slow him. I'm just wondering, how long can Malik Ray hang on, and can they wreck in the back of the pack and give him a little bit of relief up here, maybe stay up here for a top 10 finish?
Pace car off it in with 16 laps to go at Dover. Malik Ray going to lead the field at a slow roll of 45 miles an hour all the way to the exit of the restart zone. Still waiting. Green flag flies. We're back underway. Executed well, because he'll go to the race lead and defend now into turn 1. Now here comes Nick Ottinger looking to the outside in 2. He's got a nose. He's clear for the top spot.
You can see Ray. I appreciate the effort trying to go as late as possible on the restart, hoping that somebody back there maybe jumps it, gets shuffled up. But unfortunately here, I think that damage in those 70-lap old tires not going to do him any favors. You can see him free falling through the field, but good battle out front for second. And by the way, for Malik Ray, he doesn't have any tire sets left, so that's another reason he stayed out. He is out of Goodyear Eagles.
Oh, and this fight for second is good news for Ottinger. Pause that huge wreck. The 48 cars involved, Alfala, LaPrade, and more. And that'll take some 4 or 5 laps out of this race as we slow things down again under the caution flag. And I'll tell you what, I thought the wreck was going to be for second. They were doing their best to do so. The replay will show that the rough night for the Charlotte Phoenix continues. Graham Bolin, I believe, got spun by Vicente Salas. Salas getting loose, again coming up and out of that ditch that is turns 1 and 2. Car gets loose, gets sideways, tagged the 48 car, and we caught the back half of that one as that thing spiraled into a much bigger incident. Let's watch it here.
And Vicente has had a very eventful night, to say the least. You could see maybe scraped the right rear onto the wall, but nonetheless comes back down the racetrack. Again, hard to see another Charlotte Phoenix car into the wall at the entry of turn 3, but this isn't the only wreck that happened. You could see a couple of ones piling in. Hard hit right there up the road for Briar LaPrade. You see Michael Conte able to get on by, but that was not the only incident that we had. There was one further on back off of turn number 2. Keegan Leahy self-spun on his own, and another couple cars got wrapped up in that. Cody Bias, I believe Brian Mercurio got spun down the racetrack, so kind of 2 separate incidents. Not the first time we've seen that tonight, Evan.
Yeah, we noticed that in the background of the shot. Leahy spun, he collected Bias and Mercurio, James.
Briar LaPrade caught up in that latest incident for Junior Motorsports and Briar. Did it surprise you how long it took for that wreck to develop going down the back straightaway?
Yeah, a little bit. I honestly expected either a car to snap left or snap right, and we went both ways. And then I just tried going low, and I think Bowden hit us there just trying to avoid it. So it's just racing. We had a really fast Ledford Billiard Supply Chevrolet. Just sucks it ends that way because I felt like we had top 10 speed for sure. But yeah, it is what it is. We move on to Kansas, which it was just announced today, but we'll be doing the first in-person event for the Coke Series, so that's going to be really cool. So, but yeah, just got to move on. Just sucks. It is what it is, man. But yeah, just shout out Ledford Boyer Supply, Marconi Setup Shop, and Gene Road Sports for support all year. And yeah, we started selling merch too. Might as well plug it while we're here. But LedfordBoyerSupply.com/BriarLaPred, and you guys can check out some merch. It's really nice. So we'll look sporty going into Kansas, that's for sure.
Got the new T-shirts. Got the event coming up in 2 weeks where we'll be racing in person. Brighter days are ahead, I think, for Briar LaPrade, Blake.
Well, James, I think the one thing I took out of that caution is this incredible miss by Blake Reynolds. Look at him drive down the back straightaway, smoke cars on the outside, and just sneaks on by, keeps it out of the wall, keeps it out of the other cars. I mean, I know that is almost got to be the move of the race right there. I mean, that is insane that he did not end up wrapped up in that wreck.
First thing I said when we saw the wreck on Talkback was we need a replay of the 15 car because that was insane. And at that point, he's given up, right? They're wrecking in front of him. They're wrecking under him. All you can do is hold the fence and hope that a gap opens up and maybe a little bit of luck on his side tonight as Blake Reynolds gets through that accident and is all the way up to 13th position in the running order. Again, as we get down to the end of this race, if you want to keep up to date with the latest news and updates from the world of eNASCAR, scan the QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen and sign up today with iRacing, the official simulation partner of NASCAR. Of course, we're taking a look back at these drivers, and speaking of, rivalries and whatnot, I want to remind you that next time out for round number 7 on May the 10th at 6 p.m. Eastern, you can join the Charlotte Phoenix Watch Party. Junior Motorsports and the Charlotte Phoenix driver lineup is going to be racing live at the event. There's going to be an iRacing Sim Rig giveaway, a live concert, and more. For more information and to RSVP, you can click the link on the screen, type that into your search bar, and get signed up today.
We have got to find a way to set up a boxing ring in that place. I mean, if we're going to do sim racing live, that's the one thing we need. Do it for charity. We got to find a way to set something up between some of these guys if they want to duke it out.
This is the week to build that. I don't know if Kansas is going to lead us to it, but if somebody gets mad at Dover, let's book it. That'll be the prelim before the race in a couple of weeks' time. Pace car off and in. Nick Ottinger on those old left side tires takes 10 laps to go. He wants them to fight behind him. Oh, the spinner! Was it Alfala into the outside wall? And another caution. That's the 31 car. Maine's got a huge part of it.
Well, Evan, Dover is a narrow racetrack, and I can confirm 4 wide does not work, and that's just a simple part about it. Everybody trying to get every spot they can right behind Blake Reynolds. Wouldn't you imagine it for that 13th position? Alfala was way on the top side, but again, I don't think anybody expected with some of the checkups and avoiding some cars that they were going to be 4 wide entering turn 1. It looks like Alfala and Garrett Maines get the worst end of that.
Well, let's take a look back, and you're going to see where all of this started right there in the middle of the ring, center of your screen, the 31 machine. You're going to see the move to the bottom. That's the 9 car, making it 4 wide, and then it just forces everybody else up, right? Guest didn't make contact with Maines, but when he went to the bottom, Maines had to move up, so Maines pushed up. He kind of crowded the 20 machine up there, Donovan Strauss. He crowded Alfala, and it was Alfala who got turned around first, and about 4 different drivers get a big piece of contact in that one, and I still think every single caution here is good news, Blake, for Nick Ottinger, because again, long term, going to be really tough to defend, but if he's able to get another yellow like this, right, another 4 or 5 laps, take it off the board, he continues to get good restarts, this is all playing into exactly what the 25 car needs.
You're exactly right. The more heat cycles these tires go through, that's going to lessen the disadvantage that Nick Ottinger's under right now. So he's loving this. He's loving the fact that he can defend it and stay in the lead, James Pike.
Bobby Zielinski currently sitting in the 3rd position here. And any sort of game plan over these last few laps to try and get those final 2 spots you need for the victory?
I mean, they're going to have to hit each other because Nick made the right call for this kind of caution fest at the end, taking 2. I don't think I'm going to have enough time to even try to make a move. Plus, car's really bad on the first lap on a restart. Just the first few laps, not a great short run car. So I don't know.
just hanging, hoping, praying. Meanwhile, though, I have to be excited, though. Top 5 run all night, pace here at Dover. A lot of takeaways regardless of what happens from your performance tonight. Yep.
Yeah, this sucks though, because I thought we had the win in the bag pretty much. I had a really good long run, that whole long run. Like, that was some of the best driving I've done, and I love this place, and I was trying to get the win, and it still can happen. I'm not giving up on nothing, but ain't looking great. I could be happy about a good run, but you need a win to make the playoffs, so.
Could be P3, could be P2, could be P1, could be wherever. Who knows? We'll just have to see how it plays out.
Hopefully not P30, but this interstate battery Toyota is a rocket today, and I'm happy with that.
It's Bobby Zelensky. He'll restart third.
He's tracking for his best finish of the year. His best finish so far, P6 at Atlanta about a month ago. Looking to improve on that here tonight and find a victory lane. Here is one more look on the board with Conti, and you look up the road in the ring, and you'll see that 4 wide pushes everybody up. Alfala, the odd man out, up on that 4th lane. And that is a lot of smoke and spinning race cars in front. Where does Conti go? Underneath and around. He is able to get through that one with relatively okay condition. He's still back in 20th. Of course, Conti was running up closer to the front a lot earlier in the night. For a race that didn't see a ton of comers to goers, we saw some of the field get divided amongst strategy. For the most part, everybody's been in agreement on strategy. Most of the cars have pitted together. Most of the cars have been on the same tires, same fuel strategy. Ottinger, before him, Malik Ray, some of the outliers in this, but a majority of the field has been able to race this one out together. This time by lights out on top of the pace car. Blake, we will come around next time to take 5 laps to go. Nick Ottinger needs to hang on at least one more time, looking for the win, trying to go back-to-back. Of course, he was your race winner 2 weeks ago in Bristol.
Well, and I think the reason we've seen so much of that strategy, Evan, it kind of goes back to what we saw in pre-race, talking to Ryan Luza, talking to Casey Kerwin about how important it is to get that track position, to get that free real estate that's up at the front of the field, and to stay there. We've seen some desperate calls from Ottinger, from Malik Ray, Liam Brotherton, all testing strategy to try to stay up front, because that has been the key that these drivers talk about all the time. You want to be up there in the top 5. I know that sounds so rudimentary talking about racing. You want to be up front, but whether you can get that through qualifying, through pit strategy, anything, you need to find a way to get up front, because we can see if you're in the back half of this field in 2022, there's a good chance that you're going to damage your race car.
And we'll see, is this the final time tonight? Pace car off and in. Nick Ottinger in control. Green flag flies. 5 laps to go at Dover. It is a huge restart for Ottinger. 6 car lengths the advantage to turn 1 as Zelensky inside of Vincent, the fight for second.
And Ottinger going to get a lot of help from both of those drivers. Oh, Zelensky, hard of the inside wall. Zelensky will spin around. The rest of the field piles in. Blade Witt, Keegan Leahy, Graham Bolin once again, and Bobby Zelensky, who we just heard from a moment ago, just hoping that he could get a good finish, maybe even win. That is all out the window. Trouble for the second position.
And we were just talking to him. He said, hopefully not a P30. Well, it may just end up being a P30 for Bobby Zelensky tonight. Was looking good all night long, on track for his best finish of the season. And after having led 10 laps a little bit earlier, just like that, he is out of the battle for the race win. And this race will now likely be going into eNASCAR overtime. We were watching it as it unfolded.
He is actually in 30th right now. He is the last car on the lead lap in 30th.
It's tough. A little bit of negative affirmations there for Bobby Zelensky. We were watching this side by side off the corner. At that angle, Blake, maybe Corey Vincent could have given him a little bit more room, but listen, they're pushing, right? We've seen drivers door banging on corner exit all afternoon long, and when they touched, it just sent the 18 spiraling to the bottom. And again, with that little to no runoff, again, there's really no apron on this track. We talked about it in some of the earlier incidents. As soon as that thing got sideways, he was done.
Well, and how many times have we seen off of turn 2, the driver on the outside, if they wiggle, if they nudge, if they do anything but get right on the wall, it's always that inside car that gets the worst end of it. We saw Jimmy Mullis spin. We saw Bobby Zelensky. I mean, it has been a just a plethora of drivers who are on that inside off at turn number 2 who get the worst ends of these incidents, pile into the inside wall, and then, of course, if you're at the back of the field, you're just guessing where they're going to end up, and unfortunately, we've seen some wrong guesses tonight.
And big consequences, right? It's going to be a big hit for Zelensky, who came into tonight 7th in the championship, James.
Here with Femi Olan, who currently finds himself in the 6th position. And Femi, have you been ripping up the playbook here, ripping up the strategy book with each yellow? Has it been tough, or have you largely kept your strategy the same as we hitch towards the end?
It's I've kind of noticed that there are 2 cars that they don't take off as well, but that's like, at that point, you're just hoping for luck. You know, you hope that when we get down into turn 1, that they're either slow if they're not in your lane, or, you know, they can get it together if they're directly in front of you. But at this point, you know, we're just kind of hoping to be in the right lane.
It's not even so much about the plan as much as it is just the execution at this point, no?
Yeah, just gotta hope that, you know, nobody makes a mistake up here. I think we've all had a clean race, a good race, and you know, just coming out here with good points is what I'm looking for.
Don't think there's much point in me trying to predict what's about to happen here over the next few laps, gents. I think we'll just sit back and watch and wait and see.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to wait and see.
Listen, at least you didn't ask Femi what spot he was going to finish in, because that worked so well for poor Bobby last time.
Guilty as charged.
Tough one. Listen, we've all given the commentator's curse, the jinx over the years, and Bobby's going to try to fight to get some spots, but his engine's expiring. He's 26th at the moment, ahead of a couple of drivers, but he's going to do his best to hang on and try to stay competitive in this one. Again, for more information, if you want to get in on the sim racing action and on how to start your iRacing career today, you can go to iRacing.com for more information. If you want to try it for the first time, up to 40% off all new iRacing memberships. And outside of the sim, generally speaking, if you want to keep up to date with this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, it's iRacing.com/eNASCAR to follow us through this championship that's going to take us all the way to October 25th, where we will go racing at the virtual Phoenix Raceway for our championship 4 finale. But before we think too much about the title, there is a race win on the line here tonight. This race is going to eNASCAR overtime for attempt number 1 of 3 and a green-white checker finish. When they take the white flag, the race is official. The next flag to end it will be the checker. Doesn't matter what happens. The yellow flag will not be displayed again. If the caution flag comes before the white, we'll pause, re-rack them, restack them, and try it all over again. Nick Ottinger won just 2 weeks ago in the inaugural Bristol Dirt Race. He is trying to go back-to-back for William Byron Esports. He is still hanging in on the old tires. Vincent to the outside in second. Busa, Wilson, Novak, the drivers inside of the top 5. Pace car down and in. Ottinger holds, now fires off. Green flag, 2 laps to go.
And Ottinger going to be ahead by about 4 or 5 car lengths already as they work into turn number 1. Malik Gray screaming on the radio about something, but right now all good up front for Ottinger. Vincent able to clear for second. Let's see if they get back around to the stripe.
You can see the 75 machine. Ibusa losing some ground on the inside of that battle for 4th and 5th, but off at 4. Nick Ottinger will see the white flag. This race is official. Vincent, 4/10 back, is able to shake off Steven Wilson in the battle for 2nd and 3rd, but Nick Ottinger, 2 more corners to navigate. Gonna get his 2nd straight win and the 19th of his career. Ottinger wins in Dover.
Well, Evan, I think there's a reason that our entire Countdown to Green crew picked this guy. I mean, he is just on a roll right now, winning at the dirt track at Bristol, coming here to the Monster Mile, and it didn't matter what strategy he was on, what tires he had, anything. That 25 car was bad fast, and much like his boss who won here in the Pro Invitational Series back a couple of years ago at Dover, Nick Ottinger getting it done at Dover Motor Speedway tonight.
And he's going to bring it around to celebrate on the front straightaway. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And if you don't think that this man is primed to get another title after having won the championship in 2020, Blake, he has been unreal this season. His last 5 races, he has finished no worse than 4th. That includes back-to-back victories for the second winningest driver in Coke Series history.
Just an impressive performance here from Ottinger, of which we're just kind of getting used to with this next-gen car. I know there were so many drivers prior to this season. We're looking forward to getting this car, and Ottinger is certainly one of those drivers, just dominant all season long.
Let's watch it with the Coca-Cola move of the race. It was that final restart. Remember, Ottinger started on pole, led a lot of laps early, but everybody else pitted without him, put him off cycle, led some more laps, pitted, went back in traffic, and then on a late race yellow opted to go for 2 tires only when everybody behind him went for 4, but he nailed every single restart that he had to, including this one. Got a huge jump on Corey Vincent, who had his best jump on any of the restarts there, right? Vincent and Zelensky had been fighting for second. Without that, it was Ottinger who fired off. He was clear by a healthy distance. And again, we talk about drivers who are so good here at Dover. It is his 3rd career win at the Monster Mile as Ottinger takes home his 2nd win of the year.
It's just insane to think about the fact, Evan, that aside from just one race this year, aside from Atlanta, Nick Ottinger has either won the pole or won the race in all 7 rounds here in 2022. I mean, it's hard to describe it. These are the 40 best sim racers in the world, Evan, taken to competition every Tuesday night, and yet it is still the same man at the top of the pile. It is just, it's hard to explain how dominant, how big this is to be able to go on a streak like this in a series that's just this competitive.
It is so impressive for the driver of the 25 machine from pole to victory lane. Here tonight at Dover Motor Speedway, we've caught up with Nick Ottinger.
Nick Ottinger, we just said the stat. I'll repeat it for you. Nick, you have either won the pole or won in all but one race in these first 7 rounds. What does it feel like to go on a dominant run like this?
It makes me just not want it to end. You know, our Logitech G team is obviously strong, you know, for qualifying, and that propelled us to have a good opportunity tonight. But you know, at the end of the day, you're only strong as your teammates, your supporters, and all the people that are there behind the scenes to help you at least, get to the virtual track, obviously, but that they put tens of hours a week, with you. So I'm appreciative of my crew chief, Brendan Hastings, for stepping in for being, spotter and crew chief tonight. And, I'm just happy. I mean, I love coming to Dover. I expect to run good every time, but, at the end of the day, it's just like it was tonight. We had different strategy. It didn't work out for us at, opening 20 laps, and it didn't work out for us near the end, having the fuel saved to where we're probably going to have to pit again. So, we lucked out. But, again, it's a team effort. It's fun just to have some really good cars under us, especially good qualifying cars. And, it's just, we got to keep hitting iron while it's hot and just make sure we're progressing as a team each week for different track types like Dover was tonight.
Well, speaking of different track types, we go to Kansas, we go to Charlotte. There's a lot of mile and a halfs kind of on the horizon here in this schedule. I'd hate to ask, but are the expectations just as high as what they've been early in the season for you?
Yeah, I mean, anytime I get in the car, I don't care if I'm racing, 40th in points, first in points, 20th. My expectations are to at least just learn something to, take from the green flag all the way to the end of the race. And, we done that tonight because, I mean, we passed a lot of cars tonight to where it was really hard to pass. And, I mean, we had a little fresh tires, but even with cars behind us that had fresher tires than us after the first stop, they couldn't really get amount of charge to us. So, to answer your full question on it, expectations are always high because I expect, us to go out there and battle for wins. And that's what our, Logitech G, Bowen Esports, and
TSM team are supposed to do battle for wins like we did tonight.
Well, Nick, we'll let you get to it. I tell you what, this man is wanting a raise at some point from the boss man and William Byron Esports. Nick Ottinger, congratulations. Yet another triumph here in 2022 as he takes his 25 Logitech Chevrolet to victory lane. We'll go ahead and pull in Corey Vincent, another driver who we were mentioning, Corey kind of slowly, quietly flying under the radar, but that number 3 Coca-Cola Chevrolet looked good, looked clean, and able to come out with the podium tonight.
Yeah, we were pretty good out there. Honestly, we needed to take more fuel on that last pit stop there. We took a little too less, and I got the split on the ground, so it was really tight. It's hard to get to Nick there at the end. And also, it was hard to time those restarts, and he did a good job. Congrats to him on the win. But man, I wanted it. I wanted it bad. It was right there. It was so close. Obviously, we need this win to get in the playoffs, but we've been running good lately, so if we can keep it up, I'm sure, we'll want to come our way soon. But happy with the car. Can't thank the Lockdown Racing guys enough for putting together this car, especially Taylor Hurst and Diamond Strauss. They put a lot of time in on it. And it was really good, better than I expected, that I would be tonight. And, I wanted to win bad, but, I can be happy with second.
Well, starting to turn the corner for sure. We have a couple more tracks like this coming up on the schedule, some of these longer tracks after we've run so many short tracks. You think this trend continues for you?
Hopefully. That's the plan. If we keep running like this, then I will, we'll try to get one.
All right, Corey Vincent finishes in second tonight for Team Dillon Esports, trying to rise a little bit further up the team standings, and done a pretty solid job so far as our Countdown to Green crew covered. And so Corey Vincent brings it home in second tonight. And someone else, I think this is the driver that we have talked to most throughout this year. I believe fourth top 5 so far this year. Steven Wilson for Storthaus Esports coming in here and putting on yet another solid performance. I know I mentioned during the broadcast once, Steven, that this is a career year. I know you've only had 2 seasons in this series, but as far as drivers that are making a statement here in 2022 that they have staying power, I think you're certainly one of them. How does that feel?
Well, I guess that's nice. Really wish I could have come home with a win today. We had some pretty nuts pace at the end of that long run. Just happened to look at the caution after the race, and I'm pretty disappointed that that's how that last caution came out between 2 lap down cars, but it happens, I guess. Still came home with a third, and I guess we'll take it and move on to the next one.
I was about to say you relinquished the points lead last time out to Nick Ottinger. He gets the win tonight, but you are setting course for quite a standing going into these playoffs. You're building up a lot of cushion on these points. So we saw a lot of winners get really aggressive tonight on strategy calls. Is that something that we can expect out of your camp, trying to go after wins at this part of the year?
Yeah, I mean, definitely 2 tires is something I should have thought about there. Just we have a win in the bags and we're good in points, so guess that'll be in my mind for sure later, especially since the one win we did get was with staying out. So just didn't know it would hang on for that long. We had one of those moments in A-Open last night, and didn't know if it would work out after that long of a run. But I think definitely it shows that staying out after that long of a run probably wouldn't work, but 2 tires is definitely a good option no matter how long the run. So whatever for track position will probably be the best.
All right, we'll see if that plays out for Steven Wilson ongoing in these few weeks, and if we can talk to him again. We've already talked to him a number of times here, Evan, in these first 7 rounds of 2022.
And he hopes to continue that as we work into the midway point of the season, 2 weeks' time at the virtual Kansas Speedway. A lot of intermediate racetracks, Blake, to make up the bulk of this middle portion of the regular year.
Certainly so. I can't wait to get to Kansas. Very fun racetrack. You can rip the top, rip the bottom. Going to see some wild action as we've become accustomed to, I think, this season, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
And we're looking forward to it and hope that all of you join us then. Until next time, though, that is it for us here tonight from Dover. On behalf of our entire team at iRacing NASCAR, our entire broadcast crew tonight, and for your broadcast team upstairs, for James Pike on a pit road, for Blake McCandless, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Nick Ottinger on his 19th career win and second in a row in 2022. The road to $300,000 continues in 2 weeks' time on Tuesday, May the 10th for the virtual Kansas Speedway. That race and every race of the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series can be found exclusively here on eNASCAR.com. Till next time, good night from the Monster Mile.